Let's talk about how to find special products. The first special product we're going to talk about is called a conjugate. It's where you have two sets of parentheses and they both have the same two things. I'm going to call it A and B for right now. So they're basically identical, but one of them has a plus and one of them has a minus. And when you multiply this together, it's always going to be the first thing squared minus the second thing squared. And that's it. So the special product means we get to kind of skip the work and use the pattern to help us out. So, for example, on the very first one, you'll notice that you have 9x and 2 and 9x and 2. But one of them is a plus and the other one is a minus. That is a conjugate. And I'm just going to write C for conjugate. And if I follow my formula, I just have to do 9x squared and 2 squared. But always in between the two in a conjugate situation, they're going to be subtracted. So these two are going to be subtracted in between. So I know that 9 squared, or 9 times 9, is 81. And then x squared is x squared. I also know that 2 squared is 4. And we just put a minus in between them. That's a conjugate. If you don't want to do it that way using a special product, you are always welcome to use FOIL, 9x times 9x, 9x times negative 2, 2 times 9x, or 2 times negative 2. Or you can go ahead and set up the box method with 9x plus 2 and 9x minus 2. What's going to end up happening is 9x times 9x is 81x squared. 9x times negative 2 is negative 18x. 2 times 9x is positive 18x. And 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. Then, when you go to add the 2 in the middle together, 18 plus negative 18 is 0. That's why it's just the first one and the last one. The second special product that we're going to talk about is called a squared binomial. And the word squared means to the second power. So you're going to have two things in parentheses squared. And it's basically the same thing as a plus b times a plus b. And since they're both plus this time, they don't cancel out like conjugates. So it's going to be the first one squared and the second one squared. But instead of canceling out in the middle, you're going to do 2 times a times b. So, for example, the second one has this little power of 2. That means it's a squared binomial. I'm going to write it as SB. And I need to square the first one. So 5 squared and x squared. Well, 5 squared is 25. And then I know the last number is going to be 3 squared, which is 9. The part that's a little tricky about this one is you have to multiply them together and double it. So this would be 2 times 5x times 3. Well, 2 times 5 is 10, and 10 times 3 is 30. Just make sure you keep the x with it. Last one, trinomials. These are the ones that look like this. So there's never any numbers in front of x squared. And what this one turns into is x squared. And then you add those two numbers to get the number in front of x. And you multiply the two numbers to get the number at the end. The third example is one of this type. Trinomial starts with a t, so I'm going to label it as t for now. And what happens is, since there's just x and x, I'm going to write x squared. And then I'm going to add 8 plus negative 5 to get the number in the middle, which is 3x. And I'm going to multiply 8 times negative 5 to get the last number, which 8 times negative 5 is negative 40. The whole idea between this section is that you're using a shortcut.